Conan visits German beer hall, nude beach during trip to Berlin. The late-night host traveled to Berlin for his latest international remote episode. In his latest journey abroad, late-night host Conan O'Brien headed to Berlin with YouTube personality and pitch-perfect two-star Flea Borg on Wednesday night's Conan. The trip is not the first O'Brien has made in recent years. The comedian has done specials in South Korea with The Walking Dead Steven Yeun earlier this year, as well as remotes in Armenia and Cuba in 2015. While in the city, he visited the remains of the Berlin Wall, picked up some shades and underwear at the Mauer Park flea market, and grabbed lunch with Borg at a German beer hall. There, O'Brien and Borg shared a few large steins of beer, which Borg explained to the host as an exchange rate. One German beer equals 45 Bud Lights. Taking the wheel of a supercharged BMW Roadster, O'Brien hit the Autobahn where he opened up the engine and put his German host on edge. "You know why you're nervous?" he asked. "You didn't have as many beers for lunch as I did." It wasn't all beers and high-powered automobiles, however. O'Brien also met up with a dominatrix at an S&M shop. Inside, Conan was subjected to nipple clamps, a spanking session, and donned a rubber mask with the visage of a basset hound. Later, Conan and Borg traveled to a nude beach where they shared schnitzels with the locals. At Berlin Tempelhof Airport, O'Brien visited recent refugees to the country. The host took time to play soccer and badminton with a group of young men, as well as show off his dance moves. Speaking to the group of young Afghan refugees, O'Brien solemnly asked if their goal was to one day return to a peaceful Afghanistan. "We are young, we have to rebuild our country. We have to return," one young man replied. Watch video from his visit to Berlin below. Some of the best stuff Conan O'Brien has been doing lately are his Conan Without Borders specials, in which he visits countries such as Cuba and Armenia. On Wednesday night, Conan goes to Berlin to take in German culture. You could predict what O'Brien does, dancing in lederhosen, or bondage shorts, as he calls the tight outerwear, to engage in some traditional Bavarian dance. He eats a lot of sausage. As an occasional visitor to Germany, I can confirm his assertion that one can easily be offered many different kinds of sausage all 3 meals a day, before going to a Berlin butcher to see how the sausage is made. In some of his escapades, Conan is accompanied by German comedian Flea Borg, an occasional guest on Conan's talk show, who's always up for a stunt. During this hour, he accompanies Conan to a nude beach just outside of Berlin and goes nude himself. Conan stays clothed. In fact, we see more of Conan when he visits a local dominatrix, Lady Velvet Steel, and strips down for a sadomasochistic session involving whips, a harness, nipple clips, and a ball gag so explicit its tubular shape is pixelated out so as not to offend American sensibilities. As in each of O'Brien's globe-trotting visits, there's one mostly serious segment, this one a visit to the Berlin Tempelhof Airport, a space that is now being used to house over 1,500 refugees from places like Syria, Iran, and Afghanistan. There he interviews young men who are studying German and hoping to assimilate into a country that holds more promise for them than the lands they've fled. Please don't send this segment to Donald Trump. Related, Conan O'Brien previews his trip to Berlin. It's a funny hour, warmed by Conan's ability to keep the humiliating humor directed at himself as a doofus tourist type asking foolishly obvious questions, game to take part in any custom that might seem odd or peculiar to American audiences. Since there's a lot of German culture in America, this special doesn't seem as exotic as his previous outings, but that doesn't mean it's not highly amusing and reasonably informative. I never want to hear another note of the squalling music made by the German rock band Sato Opera, though. Conan O'Brien skirts late-night political minefield with Berlin road trip. Updated with video, Conan O'Brien is a rare late-night host who seems to eschew politics yet inserts himself into some significant political stories. The TBS star made headlines in February 2015 when he and a small crew became the first American late-night show to film in Cuba since the U.S. embargo on that country began in 1962. Conan has since followed that road trip with a visit to South, and, very briefly, North Korea, to Qatar with First Lady Michelle Obama, and to Armenia. Tonight, TBS airs his latest road trip, Conan Without Borders, Berlin, at 10 p.m. ET/PT. Conan's Cuba visit came in the thick of President Barack Obama's controversial efforts to normalize relations with that island nation. Similarly, the show's Berlin visit is debuting as our country gets ready to swear in a new president elected on an isolationist. O'Brien opens his special with a quick visit to what's left of the Berlin Wall. He buys an Amish sex toy at a flea market from a guy who mistakes him for David Letterman. He eats something called Slaughter Plate at a beer hall, where he drinks a stein of beer he's told equals 45 Bud Lights, and learns a drinking song that, loosely translated, is called One More Will Fit Inside You, which he sings with some Vietnamese tourists. He hits 142 miles per hour on the famed Autobahn, driving the kind of BMW sports car you would drop your third wife off at school in. Twin brothers and their tight-lipped father teach him how to wear lederhosen while performing traditional Bavarian face-slapping/ass-patting dances with sidekick Andy Richter. A dominatrix, who calls herself Lady Velvet Steel and says she is an expert in hand spanking, wants to show him what she can do, but, the white anaconda explains, he's married, so no marks, lady versus surmises. She settles for applying binder clips to a blindfolded O'Brien's nipples, then binding his mouth with something the TBS decency police decided to pixelate. I'm hoping this is not what I think it is, maybe a chess piece? The blindfolded host guesses, fondling the protuberance. A rook. No, that's a bishop's hat. In other segments, O'Brien learns how sausage is made and encounters an obsessive superfan who drove more than 3 hours to hand him a list of factual errors he's made on his TBS late-night show. The closest O'Brien comes to politicizing is during a segment at the Berlin Tempelhof airport, where he meets some young men from Palestine, Syria and Afghanistan who are among 1,500 refugees living in the airport. They talk to him about studying German and their hopes of going home and laugh at the Americans' utter lack of talent for soccer and badminton. Talking to these kids, they made it very clear that they want to go home, O'Brien said. Their goal is not to go to America and steal our jobs. They want to go back to their country but can't right now because they'll get killed. O'Brien seems content with the late-night niche he's carved out for himself. The fact that I have come to a point in my career and stumbled on it, it's kind of life-saving for me, he explained. There is always the danger of burnout, he said of the daily late-night hosting grind. It's a full-time job, and I take it seriously and work very intensely at it all the time. But, he added, I'm in my 24th season as host, I started young, and I've got a lot of miles on the odometer. But I'm having creatively some of the most fun moments of my career.